Well, hey everybody, welcome to Michigan Out of Doors, and thank you so much for joining us this week. We kind of have a special show this week. We're going to rely on you, the viewer. That's right, we had some viewers that have sent in some videos. Actually, a couple of friends that we've seen before on the television program. Brandon Nutt, a friend of ours, was recently in the Upper Peninsula for a couple of days of great ice fishing in the Curtis area. You won't want to miss that. Then we're going to stay in the Upper Peninsula and visit with Richard P. Smith, an outdoor writer up there. We're going to show you a very unique way to actually do a little shed hunting. So lots of good stuff on this week's show. I think we're going to have time for a bragging board segment as well. It is a shortened show this week because our PBS stations are in pledge, but it is jam-packed with a lot of stuff and a lot of you, the viewer. Make sure you stay tuned. I'm Jimmy Gretzinger, and it's time for Michigan Out of Doors.
From the first spring rains to the soft summer breeze, dancing on the pine forest floor, the autumn colors catch your eyes. Here come the crystal winter skies. It's Michigan, Michigan out of doors.
What a beautiful day in the woods.
Someday our children all will see this is their finest legacy, the wonder and the love of Michigan. As the wind comes whispering through the trees, the sweet smell of nature's in the air. From the Great Lakes to the quiet stream, shining like a sportsman's dream, it's a love of Michigan we all share.
Michigan Out of Doors is presented by Country Smokehouse, a sportsman's destination since 1988, featuring varieties of homemade sausage, jerky, brats, and gourmet entrees. Holiday gift boxes can be assembled in-store or online. Details at countrysmokehouse.com. By Showspan, producing consumer shows that include the Ultimate Sports Show in Grand Rapids, over 350 exhibitors, outdoor gear, boats, seminars, Lake Ultimate, and Big Buck Night. The Ultimate Sports Show, March 15th through the 18th at the DeVos Place in Grand Rapids. By AnglerQuest Pontoons, a mid-Michigan company building boats for fishermen by fishermen. AnglerQuest Pontoons are designed for comfort and functionality. On the web at anglerquestpontoons.com.
Soaking in the rich tradition of Michigan hunting for over 30 years, Vanguard is proud to sponsor our friends at Michigan Out of Doors TV.
Recently, I was lucky enough to travel above the bridge to Germfask, Michigan, to meet up with John Ron and his family as they took us just outside of Curtis on a beautiful lake fishing walleye using tip-ups. Now, I've never fished with tip-ups for walleye, so the first thing I did was ask John exactly how do you catch these walleye using tip-ups.
Alright guys, so we're taking this depth finder, taking our depth finder and finding bottom. Go down until you get slack in the line. We're finding bottom and we're coming up about 18 inches. Putting our bobber on. That's our line marker, so we always know where bottom's at. So when we're checking these tip-ups all day, we don't got to keep using this depth finder. Now we're taking a blue minnow, just a regular shiner, and just hooking it underneath the dorsal fin. So we're fishing these walleyes in about 8 foot of water, and we have our shiner about 12 inches off the bottom.
Now, before John could even finish setting up his tip-ups, we had a couple little perch on the ice, and then Alicia finally hooked into a nice walleye.
You do. Good job. Just keep fighting. Oh, that a girl.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a beauty.
Now you gotta give him a
After we had a few fish in, I asked John, how exactly did you get into fishing?
Well, I've been fishing since I could walk. My dad's always had me going out. So yeah, we love it. When we're not working, we're out here fishing. Especially with friends, like weekends like this is what we do. We like doing these small local tournaments too. They're a lot of fun. You get to see the same people every year, you know. So we got the whole family out here today. There's probably 20 or 30 of us. And we're just having a good time chasing flags.
Oh, my word.
Now you may notice the water and snow on the camera lens. That just shows you the conditions of the first morning on our trip. They were snowing, blowing, sleeting, but the fish were biting. But after the bite stopped, we rolled into Mick's bait shop before heading to the next spot. If you're ever in the area, make sure you stop in and say hi to Mick. After leaving Mick's with fresh bait, we had to do a different lake in search of pike. Once again, we were using tip-ups. They also had a spear and shanty out there. Well, my dad jumped in that right away, and as we were fighting the first fish of the afternoon on tip-ups, my dad had speared his first pike. I got over there just in time.
Pull him up. Oh, that's a big one.
Yeah, baby! King of the woods! Yeah! Nice job! Nice job! Nice job! Nice job! That's a dude, huh? Way to go, man! Yeah!
Well, my dad had speared his first pike, a 40-incher, and I asked John how they found these spots.
We have the spots marked on our GPS, and we'll just go from spot to spot, check them out, or we'll just run long lines of tip-ups too, and go from there. If the flags aren't popping up much, we'll just start moving them. But that's how we found this spot. We're just putting out tip-ups and found some fish here.
He was coming up, man.
Well, it was a great day of chasing flags. Whether it be walleye in the morning or pike in the afternoon, the fishing was phenomenal. As evening came, we even got a few more walleye in. As the camera light faded, we headed off and got a good night's sleep. The next day, we would be heading right back out on the ice to the pike fishing location, and we would be entered in a tournament on this lake. We'd be fishing for bluegill and pike today, and as the day went on, we would find lots of fish. The thing I asked John was, what is different from this to walleye fishing? How do you get these fish on tip-up?
For these northerns, we're just using a number 8 treble hook with a steel leader and running a split shot above it. We're in about 8 foot of water here, so we're putting them down about 4 or 5 foot, and so we're keeping it up off bottom 3-4 feet for these northerns. No walleyes. We said earlier that we're only up off bottom about a foot, but northerns we keep it up higher.
The second morning seemed to pick up right where the first evening left off. The flags were flying non-stop. The pike were biting, the bluegills were biting, but this lake had a bit of different regulations than the normal lake has as far as limit-wise, so I asked John exactly how is this lake different and how do the regulations apply.
Lake, we're allowed 1 pike over 24 inches and 4 under 24 inches. So it's a little bit different. There are a couple other lakes like that around here. Just the pike population is just crazy. So they're having to keep more of them, which is really doing a lot of good. The bluegill population is really starting to come back, as we've seen. We're doing really good on bluegills today too.
Thanks, man.
And that has a lot to do with, for the last 4 or 5 years, we've been keeping our 4 northerns under 24 inches.
As the second day progressed, he couldn't help but notice the bright sun beaming on the lake, and I asked John, how does the weather affect these fish and how they hit his tip-ups?
It's been real good for us this year. It seems like the windier days, the colder, nastier, windier days, you're doing better fishing, but you also got to deal with the weather. But today it's a nice sunny day. It's 35 degrees out, we're in sweatshirts out here and we're still doing real good. So this doesn't seem to matter, I guess, if you're right where there's a high population of fish.
Yeah, and talk about a high population of fish. John's over here jigging for bluegill and hooks up on a nice northern.
That's what we need too.
Perfect one. 23 incher.
That's perfect. Nice.
Like I said earlier, the pan fishing up here is just as phenomenal as the walleye and pike fishing. Whether it be perch or bluegills, there's great fishing to be had, and Alicia was very content on getting her limit of nice bluegills. One last thing I wanted to ask John was, what all do you guys guide for up here?
We guide for everything. I like doing it all, you know, hunting and fishing. We guide for just about everything. I guess our most popular is probably black bears, we really love that. That's one of our biggest things. Brandon actually killed a bear with us last year. So yeah, we really like the black bears, and we're looking forward to this fall. Looks like we already have a lot of guys that plan on coming with us this fall. They have quite a few preference points. So.
Is that your first pike ever?
What's the biggest pike you got this year?
40 incher.
40 incher?
40 incher. So you've caught a lot of pike then?
Yep.
You spear them too?
I tried, but I miss them all the time.
You like to catch them, huh?
Yep.
How long have you been fishing?
A while.
A while? Nice. Well, that's a nice one you got there.
How old are you? Talk to Brandon, tell us that before.
What's your name again? Colton.
Atta boy, get him!
Hey!
Atta boy! Woo! Oh, you gotta love it.
Good job, buddy.
Huh? Look at that. There you go. Nice job.
Good job, buddy. A couple things I noticed up there while ice fishing was a conservation that everyone up there uses with these fish. This family is very strategic on how many fish they keep and how they keep them. Also, the amount of children I've seen fishing. There's kids up there that would set their own flags, fight their own fish, unhook the fish, do everything on their own, which I think is vital to the future sport here in Michigan. It's a nice one. That one will be going back, won't he? That's 2 pike in what, 2 minutes for you?
Yeah.
How many pike do you think you caught in your life?
At least 500.
How long have you been fishing and how old are you?
I'm 11 right now. I've probably been fishing since I used to fish since I was 3.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Who taught you how to fish?
My dad and my brother.
Nice. Well, after 2 days of fishing with the Ron family, we had a freezer full of fish and a camera full of video. Also, Alicia won the fishing tournament. Thanks again for the Ron family for having us here in Michigan's Out of Doors.
Well, as you can see, Brandon and his family had a lot of fun up there, and thanks to Brandon for sharing that video with us. And now we're going to stay up there in the Upper Peninsula and visit with longtime outdoor writer Richard P. Smith with a very unique way to do a little shed hunting.
Here's a matched set of antlers shed by an 8-point buck. A lot of people would be lucky to find a matched set of antlers like this, but I found the best way to get shed antlers is to be with the buck when he sheds them, as I was when this guy shed his antlers. It was shed by a 3.5-year-old 8-point buck that I've known since he's a fawn. I started walking with his mother, and then he got used to me and I started walking with him. So I happened to be with this particular buck when he lost these antlers. He'd actually lost one antler when I hooked up with him on February 2nd. And then I was with him when he lost the second antler and managed to get both of them. Take a look at the video here. Here's what the buck looked like during the fall with his antlers intact. When I was looking for the buck on February 2nd, I found his right antler first that he had already shed. A short time later, I came across the buck as he was chasing a doe with his left antler still intact. The buck couldn't have lost his right antler much before my arrival, because his pedestal was still bloody where the antler fell off. After spending about an hour with the one-antlered buck, I filmed him as he followed a doe and fawn away from me. And then when he was just barely out of sight, he stopped and stood there for quite a few minutes. The buck eventually turned and came back toward me. And when he did, I suddenly saw his left antler was missing. And he was moving his head in a strange fashion, as shown here, like losing the antlers hurt a little bit, or he was having difficulty getting used to not having the antlers on his head, as you can see here. I went back to where the buck had been standing for a few minutes and turned back toward me, and sure enough, there was his left antler where he lost it. Not long after the buck lost his left antler, I filmed him as he fed on a wind-blown balsam fir tree. After the buck was done feeding, he went a short distance away, pawed snow out of the way for a bed, and laid down. Here's a close-up of that left pedestal where he lost his second antler. You can see it's still oozing blood. By the following day, the blood had dried up and the pedestals started to heal.
Well, it's always fun to see what Richard is up to, and if you'd like to see more of his videos and check out some of his many books that he has, richardpsmith.com is the place for that. Thank you, Richard. Now what we're going to do is see what you, the viewer, have been up to.
Thanks for joining us this week for Michigan Out of Doors. If you're watching on Thursday night, we are over in Grand Rapids videoing Big Buck Night West as we speak. Now coming to you starting in 2 weeks, we'll have Big Buck Nights East and West to share with you. But in the meantime, next week's show is very special. You won't want to miss it. We'll be celebrating Jimmy Gretzinger's 1000th episode with Michigan Out of Doors. We'll spend the entire episode visiting with Jimmy, kind of reminiscing. We're going to dig up some of that old footage that's almost 20 years old. It's going to be a lot of fun. You won't want to miss next week's show. So if we don't see you in the woods or on the water, we'll see you right back here next week on your PBS station.
Michigan Out of Doors is presented by Greenstone Farm Credit Services, making recreational land ownership possible across Michigan and northeast Wisconsin. Begin your land financing journey at one of Greenstone's 37 locations or visit greenstonefcs.com. Michigan's hunters and anglers are essential partners to the health of the state's wildlife and habitats. The Michigan Wildlife Council is dedicated to ensuring our hunting and fishing heritage and Michigan's natural resources are preserved for future generations. By Pictured Rocks Boat Cruises of Munising, exploring Lake Superior's Pictured Rocks National Lakeshore. With its sandstone cliffs, caves, waterfalls, and lighthouses, Pictured Rocks Boat Cruises on the web at picturedrocks.com. Closed captioning provided by Marvo Mineral, makers of Lucky Buck, deer management products including minerals to supplement deer diets year-round to improve health and antler growth.
When I wander far away, a dream stays with me night and day. It's the road that leads to my home state. I am a Michigan man. Changing seasons paint the scene like rainbow trout in a hidden stream. The white-tailed deer in the tall pine trees. I am a Michigan man. I am a Michigan man. Ask where I'm from.
Hey everybody, I'm Jimmy Gretzinger from Michigan Out of Doors Television, and it is that time of year again when our PBS stations are in pledge. Now, what does that really mean for you, the viewer? What it means, this is your chance to let your voice be heard, to let the programmers at PBS across the state of Michigan know what you want to see. Now, if you want to continue to see hunting and fishing and trapping and the shooting sports all right here inside the state of Michigan, then you want to pledge around Michigan Out of Doors. What you're going to do is get to those phones and make any pledge of support, whether that's $1, $100, or whatever you can afford. There's some great premiums in some of the stations, but every vote, every call is really supporting the outdoors, and it's really letting those programmers know that you want to continue to see outdoor programming. If you don't call in, the programmers will say, well, you know what? There's not that many people here in the great state of Michigan that really care about hunting and fishing anymore. We know that that couldn't be further from the truth. As we travel this great state, we meet so many great sportsmen and women, and it is now your chance to go to those phones and support Michigan Out of Doors. More importantly, support the out of doors. Every time you go to those phones, it's a big vote for the outdoors and letting those programmers know that you want to continue to see this kind of programming. There's nowhere else on your television station where we could come into your home on a Thursday night, prime time slot. PBS has been a great home for us over the years, and we're hoping to stay there for a lot longer, but we can only do that if you go to those phones, make a pledge of support, continue to support Michigan Out of Doors, public television, the outdoor lifestyle that we all love so much. And I know that you have made pledges before in the past. We thank you for that. It's no small thing for us to come into your living room and ask you to give money, but we do that only because we believe the outdoor lifestyle is that important. We need to support it. We need to let people know that there are a lot of us out there that still love to hunt and fish and trap and love the out of doors. So call that PBS station, that number on the bottom of your screen. Let them know that you want to continue to see the outdoors front and center on PBS. And hopefully, if you do your part and I do my part, we'll be right back here next week on your PBS station.